Hello, hello. Hello, good evening. Welcome to the Mount Vernon City School District. Welcome to the Mount Vernon City School District meeting. Tonight is October 3rd. We're ready to start. Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Trustee Williams.
Present.
Trustee Russo. Trustee Torres.
Present.
Trustee Zamore. Trustee McOwen. Trustee Nying. Trustee Jaros. Trustee White.
Present.
Trustee Saunders.
Here.
A quorum is present, ma'am.
Thank you.
Speakers, want me to start?
Yeah, tonight we're going to start public speaking. You want to start, Rick?
Good evening, everybody. The Board of Education recognizes the critical importance of community discourse and involvement in the education of Mount Vernon's children, and accordingly, members of the public are invited to speak at each regularly scheduled board meeting, subject to the terms of board policy. Speakers must register in advance by no later than 4 p.m. of the date of the meeting by contacting me, the district clerk, in person here at 165 North Columbus Avenue, Mount Vernon, New York, by phone at 914-665-5235, or via email at rmccormick@mtvernoncsd.org. The board welcomes all respectful comment, whether praise or criticism. However, identifying and criticizing a specific student, parent, teacher, administrator, or other Mount Vernon education official or employee is strictly prohibited. Such complaints must be presented and addressed through the proper administrative channels. Each speaker is allotted 3 minutes, with up to 1 additional minute to be used for the speaker to summarize and conclude their remarks. If appropriate, the Board of Trustees and/or the superintendent or other staff member at the superintendent's direction may respond to speakers' remarks. Our first speaker this evening is Marlene Wertheim.
I'm Marlene Wertheim. I live at 100 Sycamore Avenue. I was originally planning to comment on the intended firing of the district architect, but now that that's no longer an issue to be debated, I still have comments to make. It seems suspicious to me that the district architect's contract, which had been extended, was soon after rescinded, following the questionable circumstances under which you voted out your existing leadership. And you left a void in not providing a replacement to perform the district architect's duties, which you saw as a prerequisite before agreeing to the $108 million bond. Then, at the last meeting, it was very disturbing to me to see the inconsistency in following your ground rules. People were cautioned that references to board or administration members by name were not permitted. However, this warning was voiced only after a church reverend, backed by congregants, was given sufficient time to be able to verbally shred and nearly physically attack the former president of your board. Our superintendent, you did a fine job in engaging the community and winning our trust so that the bond was passed. As a result, significant changes have ensued, as acknowledged by the Journal News in a recent article. This and other positive forces are now at work in our city. In the past, too much of Mount Vernon has been sacrificed to stagnation brought on by infighting and personal ambition. My question to this board: where are your energies directed? To revitalizing bad habits of the past, or forward to reinvigorating Mount Vernon? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wertheim. We are going to save the replies till after the comments are made. Okay, so we'll reply to your statement afterwards. Thank you.
Jeff Monroe. Angela Neal. Destiny Crump. All right. Tracy Gentle.
Hello, my name is Tracy Gentles. I'm here on behalf of the parents, the PTA of Friendship for Tots. I just wanted to talk about what that program has done for my family. We've been here in Mount Vernon for about going on 12 years now. And during my earlier years while being in Mount Vernon, we really haven't found much in the county of Mount Vernon to we haven't found places for our kids to go, and that didn't cost. And cost is a concern for many of us that are in the county, and this past year, my family was able to find a program for my daughter to attend early childhood education with Friendship for Tots with Bishop, and enrolling her, it was a little nerve-wracking because I didn't know what to expect from the program, but I see that already being the third week of school, there's a lot of strides that being made in the school, and Bishop and his wife, they're doing so much to assure that my kid, and the other parents' kids are being attended to from an educational standpoint, and they're very engaged, they're advocating for us, and they want to make sure that we get the best possible benefits from the program. And we already see that that she's making strides, my daughter. You know, she's excited to get up to go to the program every morning, and I couldn't feel more satisfied with the environment that she's in. I can approach the teachers, the staff, and feel comfortable that I'm leaving her in the best hands for the day. And I know when she comes home, she's excited to how her day went, and I just want to continue to be a voice for a lot of parents and let you guys hear that these programs are needed and the funding is needed for us to continue to support, for them to continue to support us, and for us to feel like we're getting something from the county, and we appreciate, you know, you guys hearing us, and I thank you for listening, and we just want the best for our kids and to put them in the best places possible to strive and to thrive. So thank you for hearing us.
Thank you.
Bishop C. Nathan Edwards.
I would like to extend the invitation to this board. On tomorrow morning at the Friendship facility, we will honor and dedicate a name room to our current superintendent for his initiative in providing universal pre-K for 3-year-old, the first in this county. His initiative must, as a stellar leader, must go notice for succeeding generations. So I invite the board to please come at 8:30 in the morning to be a part of this. We will not allow distractors to distract us from educating our children, helping to build the foundation. We believe that this administration and this board is on the right track, and I ask that you don't get distracted. I would like to close with the words of a psalmist. He said these words, "Fret not thyself because of evildoers, nor be thou envious because of work of iniquity, for they soon will be cut down." Psalms 37:1. Those was the words of David. And David had good experiences in knowing that your enemies may seem as though they have the upper hand, but if you just trust in the Lord and lean not to your own understanding, I guarantee you things have a way of working on your behalf. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Bishop.
Destiny Crump. Destiny Crump.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to read an email, and just for the record. Good morning. Will you please provide me a written explanation of why you denied my verbal request of Thornton High School psychologist / 504 and 504 chairperson to provide me with a copy of my son's 504 annual review held on Monday, June 5th, 2017. I would like to take this opportunity to express my disappointment and concern with regards to the district not providing a timely or reasonable PWN of my son's Section 504 committee meeting. Under the NYSED regulations, parents are required to be provided with 5 days' notice of any CPSE, CSE, or Section 504 committee meetings regarding their children. I am extremely concerned that the district has not ceased the practice of violating the PWN rights of parents, for which grievances, fair hearings, as well as lawsuits have been filed and won. Most disturbing is the possibility of parents arriving at their meetings, then being asked to waive their 5-day notification right in order to hold a meeting like I was asked to do. When I refused to waive my rights, I was told the meeting would have to be rescheduled. The only reason my son's meeting was held without me directly waiving my rights was because I was consistent, persistent, and insistent in my demand of having the meeting. Perhaps there are some parents who are relinquishing their rights in other things because they are fearful and are not as informed, enlightened, educated, and empowered with knowledge of their rights as I am. In closing, I am making a written request of you as the MVCSD 504 coordinator to continue our partnership in assisting my son with an equal opportunity to succeed in his post-secondary educational goals by providing me a Section 504 accommodation plan student exiting review summary. Have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Timothy Crump.
I would like to read the response of that email. Dear Ms. Crump, good evening. Please understand that the regulations that you are citing are for students that are eligible under the Individuals with Disability Education Act. Section 504 does not include a clearly established prior written notice requirement. In contrast, IDA includes an elaborate system of procedural safeguards designed to protect the child and parents. These safeguards include written notice before any change of placement and the right to an independent educational evaluation at public expense. Section 504 does not include these protections. I am not sure why a 504 meeting was scheduled for your son in June of 2017. There is no protocol requirement to develop an exit 504 plan. Post-secondary institutions may or may not use the 504 plan developed by a school district. I believe that you were provided with a copy of the last agreed-upon 504 plan. If not, please let me know so that I can have it mailed to you. Thank you for all that you do for your children. To this, I would just like to say, I don't understand why there is not an exit 504 plan. I do understand that schools sometimes do not accept 504 plans, but for the schools that do, I think that we should have an exit plan so the student has the necessary documents needed to move forward in their plans for life after high school.
Thank you, Mr. Crump.
Brenda L. Crump.
Good evening. Is this on? Can you hear me? Yes. It pains me, and I'm very disappointed that we would have to come up here, my children and I, because I feel like we're begging for something that should be an entitlement. Regardless as the fact as to what the 504, the state says, the state is very lax with that and leaves that up to the district. So are we saying that as a district, we lack the common sense, the logic, and the will for to do what's in the best interest of children and families and what's best practice? If you have something documenting a child as an entry, you should have something documenting a child as an exit. And the fact is that a meeting was held on June 5th of 2017. I, as a parent, am asking, I'm making a verbal request. This is the second verbal request for a copy of the 504 written document from the meeting of June 5th of 2017 that my son had. We received notice formal. A meeting was held formal. That's a fact. And as a parent, I am entitled to that. I am asking the district for that. My son has gone on for his plans for higher education. The program he has chosen, the school has asked for this document. But that's neither here nor there, because as a parent asking for the document, I should have it. You document children's entry into the school district, you document the children's exit out of the school district. I don't know why it's like we have to beg for this. And embarrassing? Do you know how well, maybe you don't, because some of you haven't encountered this with your children. And for those who have children in special education, that you have to do this as though we don't go through enough as parents and our children in the special education system or in the 504. But do you know how embarrassing it is to sit before people in an interview and then they ask for your graduation diploma and you don't have it? Very embarrassing and humiliating. And then they turn around and ask you for another document, your child's 504, and you don't have it. And then the questions come and the strange looks, well, why not? What's the problem? I don't understand. Why your district is not giving you this? As I spoke before, I am a proponent of public school and Mount Vernon school system. I stand and will always stand and fight for Mount Vernon school system. But at the same time, I can be your biggest critic. I am your biggest critic, but I push up my sleeves and I get to work for this school district. So I'm not just a complainer, but I am a solution person. So in closing, I'm going to ask, second verbal request. One verbal request was already given. A written request was given. Now I'm giving a second verbal request. I am asking in closing for the district to please provide me a copy of my child's 504 meeting that was held on June 5th of 2017 in assisting him with his equal opportunity to succeed in his post-secondary educational goals by providing me with a copy of his Section 504 accommodation. Now, you can call it exit review, you can call it an annual review, you can call it whatever you want to call it. I'm asking for the document of a fact that exists. Call it whatever you want to call it. The fact is, a meeting was held on June 5th. I'm asking for the document, as every year prior to that, when he had a meeting, the document was produced. I'm asking for the same thing now. And I just want to say, please don't make me have to spend an additional $5,000 to get a lawyer, like this district has done before, because they denied the children their honor roll status. And all the same documents. I know my time is up, but you know, this is ridiculous that I have to stand here. All the documents that I gathered and came to the administration and board members and said, here, look at the injustice that's been done to our children, not just mine, but all the children. There were more children. My fight is not just about mine, but others. And the district looked me in the face and would not do it. I had to go out and sacrifice bills in my household to hire an attorney just to hand over documents that I gathered so they can put something on a legal letterhead, send it to the district for the district to do right. As a parent, I should have a copy of the 504. Please don't make me go out and get an attorney for something that I should have.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Thomas Keller.
Wow, I gotta follow that? Gee. By the way, I want to tell you, my wife retired June 30th, so I'm unimpeded by having a family member being part of the district. So, just be aware of that. Okay, if he interrupts me like he did to
Mr. Keller.
1, 2, 3, and
Mr.
then
Keller.
security, get him out of here.
Okay, Mr. Keller, thank you.
The utility tax. I've been railing against this for a couple of years. Brings in $2.5 million. It's about 1%, we got almost $250 million budget. Last year, I brought it up in the first couple of meetings. Leslie's board trustee said, Tom, I don't want to hear about this anymore. This district can't afford to give up that $2.5 million. Meanwhile, they got, what, $6 million more from the state? Please, it was promised a couple of years ago. last year. Leslie put me off on it. Please get rid of it. And I don't know if you want to take this as a threat or not, but if you remember 5 or 6 years ago, we went from 441 to 333 like we should have a long time ago. And John Flanagan, now the Republican leader in the Senate, he was head of the Education Committee. I talked to him about that. There's 32 Republicans caucusing. IDC with Klein's about another 8. If you don't get rid of this tax, I'm going to do all I can to reduce state aid next year for you people. Due date of taxes. I talked to Maureen Walker about this. She won't be the controller come next year, but whoever is the controller, send the bills out in August. You don't pay teachers or anybody else in July and August. So you got money sitting around here being invested in, 1 basis point or something like that. So September, March. 1 payment September, 1 payment March. Parent liaison. I wasn't at the meeting, I had a conflict last month. Is this, people are getting paid $40,000 a year for parent liaison in every school? What do they do? What are the requirements? Do you have to have a kid in the school system? Are these consultants? Are they employees? Are we paying benefits? I need some answers on this. Pilots. Anybody see this article by Sean McIntyre? It was probably written by the mayor or one of his staff. All the numbers are wrong here. Ken, did you give him any numbers, any of these numbers, this article? One thing the city council has in common with the mayor, they don't like each other, but when it comes to subsidized housing, they're on the same page. The council approves these projects, developers come in, and then the IDA, which the mayor controls, grants pilots. And who's paying for it? All the commercial businesses and residential homeowners. Again, I wasn't here last month, but I'm told that 3 people that signed up to speak couldn't speak because you went over the 30-minute rule. I thought it was the 60-minute rule, with 20 people having 3 minutes, possibly 4 minutes. And I'm glad I wasn't one of the 3 that was denied an opportunity to speak. You people are public servants. I know you don't get paid any money and you put in long hours, but nobody put a gun to your head saying you must serve on the school board. You did it willingly. We're the public. You can't give us an hour? Now, not every week are there 15 people signing up. I don't know how many tonight, 5, 6, 7, or whatever, but there are some times when 10, 12, 15, 20 people are signing up. How did re-registration go this summer, by the way? Did we find people that no longer live in Mount Vernon that are sending their kids here and we're paying for it? Maybe somebody can comment on re-registration. Do we have a net decline in enrollment from last year? And I'm not so sure on this, but Joy Nemhart and I think Brenda Crump have brought up the point last year that some people at the high school were getting 60s and maybe they didn't deserve it. Is this like an outlier? It happened one or two. Is there any truth to this? The charge was made. Maybe somebody can comment on that.
Mr. Keller, are you just about finished?
Is that it? Am I 4 minutes up?
Yes, they are.
Well, I've just finished.
Thank you.
That concludes public comment.
That concludes public comment. If anybody wants to discuss the topics that were...
I'll respond to a couple of things, if I may. Good evening, everyone. Firstly, to our first speaker this evening, we are actually, during our superintendent's report, we're giving the public an update on what the bond oversight protocol is that is in place. I actually did a robocall over the weekend to let our community know that we had posted that information on our website for your perusal. We also backpacked information home, but there will be more information forthcoming tonight if you want to hang around for the superintendent's report. Mrs. Crump, Destiny Crump, and Timothy Crump, Mrs. Gaon just went to her office to retrieve the document that you requested, so that information will be available for you tonight. I won't elaborate any further on that since it is a student matter and should be protected by confidentiality, but the document that you requested is available for you, and Mrs. Gaon has that for you now. Bishop Edwards, thank you very much for that honor and the invitation to the board. I am beyond honored that you thought enough to dedicate this room and in my name as a tribute to our being pioneers in the implementation of the 3-year-old program. And I have to say that I don't deserve the honor. It is a collective project that is reflective of the support of an extraordinary competent cabinet and a board that has been nothing but supportive of district initiatives, so I thank you for that. Mr. Keller, I have no comments for the utility tax or the comptroller. I can say that the parent liaison, I will ask Mrs. or Dr. Bennett Conroy, she can share with you the job description and the posting, which speaks to the qualifications of those folks who were selected to be the parent liaison and what their duties are relative to that. So that information is readily available for you. And that's it. Those are all the... Oh, the re-registration process, yes, thank you. The re-registration process was harrowing to say the least. But yes, we identified several families that are under investigation for not having proper documentation. But there is an anomaly that's a little unique in Mount Vernon, and that's extended families, folks that may actually reside in our community who may not have the required documents. So that is going to require some investigation. But there are several students that we were able to disenroll as a result of their inability to provide solid documentation, and some families who provided fraudulent documentation were also removed from our rolls. We will have more accurate numbers at the end of the month when we plan to have completed the investigation of those cases that we think are suspicious, and we can share those numbers with you at that time.
Mr. Keller spoke about public speaking. Why is it not an hour as opposed to 30 minutes? Was that your comment? Rick, do you
Yes.
want to answer that?
It used to be an hour.
Give me 1 second, I'll bring it up.
And also pilots.
Do you want to do pilots while I'm doing?
Want to talk about that?
I'm not commenting on, I don't know what article Mr. Keller is referring to, so I'd rather not speculate, and I don't know what data he's referring to. But I'm sure you can have a sidebar with Mr. Silver, and he can give you whatever information you need in order to either quantify or not the information that was posted that you're referencing.
It was under Tony Sawyer.
Oh.
It may have been after that, but it was certainly under Sawyer.
Okay, Rick's going to discuss the pilot, the public speaking.
On January 21st, 2016, the board adopted a public comment at board meetings policy that superseded the policy previously adopted on July 12th, 2016. At the beginning of each meeting, I read a number of the parts of that policy into the record, but the part that you're referring to is part number 8, and it states, "In no event shall public comment exceed 30 minutes total at any one meeting unless all board trustees in attendance consent to grant to additional time." So that's where that comes from. The board,
Why didn't you grant the time last month for the 3 people who weren't able to speak?
So, okay, calm down. Calm down, please. The 3 people that did not speak last week, we called them to speak tonight,
they rolled over to this.
but they were not here. Also, can Ms. Gayon just discuss the issues of the 504? Do we usually give exit 504s?
Is Mrs. Gowan in the room?
Yeah. Ms.
Where are you? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yes, to the extent that you can speak to that without breaching any student confidentiality, if you can just talk about the students who have 504 accommodations and what the protocol is.
Can you explain the 504 too?
Bless you.
It's guided by the office, through the Office of Civil Rights, as opposed to the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So a lot of the regulations that Mrs. Crump was referring to are regulations that guide the education of students with disabilities. As far as providing students an exit 504 plan, typically parents take the last agreed upon 504 plan and bring it to the post-secondary institution for their review. Typically, the post-secondary institutions want to make their own decisions and really want the evaluations upon which the 504 was made. So I can't speak to this particular case, but 504s are at the post-secondary institution's discretion. And so they don't necessarily adopt our recommendations because they can't possibly do the same thing in a post-secondary institution that we're able to do in a school setting. So that's what I could say as far as 504 plans go. We, as far as printing out the last agreed upon copy of the 504 plan, parents are provided with that. If parents need new copies, we will provide a new copy. But as far as an exit meeting in the year in which a student has already graduated, no, we do not hold that meeting. So if a student graduated last year, we would not convene a meeting for this year.
All right, thank you. All right, so reports from the superintendent.
Okay. This evening, I do want to speak to a comment that was made at the last meeting by one of our residents that spoke about Edward Williams School and some very alarming reports about food being contaminated with insects and things of that sort. We sent a team out to the school the following morning, met with the school principal, reviewed the conditions of the building, and none of that information was substantiated. In fact, the speaker later acknowledged that she had heard the information from a student and had not investigated or checked to see whether or not there was any credibility to those complaints. The principal had never heard the complaints. The protocols that were in place to ensure that the food handling meets established protocols were in place and continue to be in place. The condition of the building that she spoke about clearly were at least a year old, if not more. The building had been painted. The main hallways had been painted as recently as last year. The office is in the process of being updated. The playground had just been resurfaced. There's additional work going on at Edward Williams School. So I share this information because when public come to the microphone and they give reports, it's important that we have accurate information because sometimes that although there is freedom of speech, there's a responsibility that comes with freedom of speech. And there were some alarming statements that were made that, quite frankly, took me by storm to the point where I ended up having a conversation with the building principal, being led by information that was not completely accurate. So we did follow up, and I just need to go on record that there were no maggots in food. There were no reports of a Band-Aid being in the food. Chicken nuggets, yes, they were frozen. But there were no other reports that were confirmed, that were reported at that meeting. Tonight, I would like to give the board an update on our pool, which I shared with you in the mailing last week. We are in a very good place with our pool. We are anticipating a December 1st opening. And all the upgrades have been done, and we are confident that we have found the problems, remediated all the problems that have been 10 years in the making, and we've been able to get that rectified. And then regarding the bond oversight, I'm going to ask Mr. Silver if he can just share with the board and the public what protocols we have in place to continue to be good stewards over the bond projects, and the fiscal responsibility associated with the $108 million approved by our citizens.
Good evening. Tonight we're going to talk about the oversight of the 2020 bond project. And I have with me Mr. Bob Furnice, who is a registered architect and is our senior vice president of Savin, our construction manager, and he's going to speak on the oversight that we have, the staffing plan for all of the construction projects in the bond. We also after Mr. Furnice finishes that, we're going to talk about the staffing plan that the architects have, including all the architects and engineers that are involved in our project, and the board has copies of everything I'm speaking of. And there's also going to be, there's also a chart having to do with Gisolfi, our architect, and by project, how each person is assigned to projects. So the first thing we're going to do is, Mr. Furnice is going to speak about the oversight, which is the long sheet. If you're in the audience and have one, I apologize, there's not enough for everybody. Okay, but you don't need this.
Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about the oversight. We do have a committee that's established that is Mount Vernon School District, Peter Gisolfi Associates, and Savin that meet on a regular basis. Every Tuesday, we have a meeting. It's either a bond committee meeting or it's a design meeting. They alternate. So that's part of our oversight. In addition, we have construction meetings when projects are in construction. They're on a weekly basis or a bi-weekly basis, depending on the progress of the project and the timing of the project. And we also have separate meetings, Savin and PGA, to discuss the projects and keep the projects moving. So Savin's staffing plan, I am the vice president. I'm overseeing the entire project in Mount Vernon. Working with me, I have Nick Furtado. He assists me in reviewing some of the questions the project exec or the project managers will have that maybe I can't answer or assist me with answering. Our project exec on the project is Peter. He oversees a specific site and then manages the project managers, and he holds project meetings. He is on the Pennington project right now, so he holds, right now we're having bi-weekly meetings with the contractors on that project. He holds those meetings, has meeting minutes for those meetings that are distributed to the contractors and Mount Vernon and PGA. And he also manages one of the projects at the high school, the Little Hands Playground, and he's working with Pierre. They're working together on the track and tennis courts, and also he's working with us and PGA on the second phase of the track and tennis court development, which means once we get the...
Let me jump in and just kind of clarify what I'm anticipating will be resolved tonight. There were two main issues that were presented to us when we put this bond out, and that's what I'd like you to respond to specifically. How do we ensure the quality of the work? And secondly, how do we ensure that the funds are expended appropriately and not wasted? Those are the two main issues that I'm really not interested in who is on which project, but more specifically for the public, how do we ensure that the work is quality work? And two, that as expenditures are being made associated with the usage and the allocation of the $108 million, that it's being spent wisely and fiduciously.
Okay, let me answer the first question. We have an on-site person at our projects. They are watching the projects on a daily basis. We hold meetings with the contractors. We review the progress of the work, both schedule and quality of work. When we have any issues, we will contact the architect, Peter Gisolfi Associates, and have the appropriate person for that project come out, review the conditions. They also attend our weekly or bi-weekly construction meetings for quality control. We do have coordination meetings with the contractors on the project, so this is a Wick's Law project, 4 prime contracts. Some of the contractors don't want to work together. We sit down with them after the construction meeting and have a coordination meeting to make sure that they're working together and coordinating so that one person knows what the other one is doing. On the financial end, First, when a contract is awarded, contractor gives us schedule of values. We review those schedule of values. And then, when he submits payment applications, we're reviewing the payment applications. All of that is a small piece of the $108 million. So we're watching that $108 million and where it's divided up into the separate projects. And for the school district end, we have Kevin in the district, working with the district and managing us with the $108 million plus the additional projects for capital reserve and things like that.
Great, thank you. And just as another, and I know the board knows this, but I will share with the public, I guess about a month or so ago, I put a protocol in place where all change orders had to be approved by me before they would be submitted to the board for payment. My concern with, or my reason or justification for that was to ensure that as change orders were being recommended, that those contractors who were the least responsible bidder were in fact the bidders, the contractors who should have gotten those contracts, and that these change orders then don't exceed what are allocated. Now, I've been doing this long enough to know that you're going to have some change orders, and that's common practice. But that additional layer of oversight to make sure that those change orders did not become extraordinary were put in place. So, and I thank you for being responsive to that protocol, quite frankly, and making sure that those change orders do reach my attention before the work is done. Since then, I have noticed that the change orders, and I think that may be because we're further in the process as well, but those change orders have subsided somewhat. So I appreciate that. Mr. Silver, do you have anything you want to add?
Yes. So altogether from Savin Construction Managers, there are 10 people on site on a regular basis, including Kevin, who works with us in the business office, dealing with the State Education Department and making sure that we get our state aid on every dollar we spend at our rate of 75%. And Kevin also calls to our attention when something is not aidable and we drop it out and make sure it is aidable. Just wanted to make a mention about the architects. The architects have, there are 10 project architects on this project, 4 landscape architects, 2 interior people, and there are 3 partners in charge. So we have architects from the architect's office. There are also engineers, 2 for about 8 or 10 engineering firms that work for the architect, and they're paid by the architect. And then we have the construction manager. There is a lot of oversight going on a regular basis. Plus we have Mr. Policio, experience in facilities, and myself. I've been doing this for 38 years, and we lead that team, and we are at all the meetings of all the projects.
Okay. All right. And just in terms of our process for seeking an additional district senior architect, we have had the civil service list verified, and candidates that are eligible have either already been interviewed or will be interviewed, and we will be making a recommendation to the board as soon as possible in that regard. But in the interim, these steps and protocols are in place to ensure appropriate oversight of the bond projects. Okay. Any questions from the board?
No, thank you. That's good.
And that then will conclude the superintendent's report this evening.
I think that Dr. Conway was out of the room when
Oh.
I talked to her about the family and community engagement position.
Yes, if you can share with Mr. Keller the job description and the posting for the parent liaisons. Mr. Keller had questions at the microphone earlier today. Madam President, a board member needs to be acknowledged. Mrs. Jaros had her hand up.
Yes, I was wondering, will the board have opportunity to also interview?
There is a compact committee that is being put together. I don't know who is actually on that committee, but I do know there is board representation on that committee. Mr. Silver, will you could share who the compact committee members are, because I don't know.
From the high school, Mr. Policio, myself, Trustee White, and Bob Furnice, who just spoke from Savin Engineers, and Ken Poyman from the architect's office. So there are at least 2 registered architects on that committee and a board member.
Okay. Very good. That answer your question, Mr. Brooks?
If someone else would like to be on that, would they be able to?
I see no reason why not.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be very brief. There are 3 questions. 1, job description. I have a copy for you, so you'll get that afterwards. The second question was...
Dr. Bennett Conroy, I'm sorry. Can you use your microphone, please?
Oh, I thought I had a classroom voice.
You do with the camera.
I'm sorry about that. The first question was the job description, which I have here, and which would be on the website for anybody to see that. The second question was, are they consultants? Yes, they are consultants. And the third question was that they were hired by a compact of principals, parents, and other administrators. What was the other question, Mr. Keller?
Do they get benefits as consultants?
No,
They do not get
no. As a
benefits.
consultant, they do not get benefits.
That would be on the job posting, which I will ask Dr. BC to share with you.
And
as
I'll
well.
give you a copy of that, too.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. BC.
All the positions are filled, Mr. Keller. It's a grant, isn't it?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hamilton.
You're welcome.
For the president's report, I have just a couple of things. I had the opportunity to go to the football game Sunday.
Oh,
Yeah, very nice football game. One issue was for me trying to get in. We have such tight security that they wouldn't let me in. So, but yeah, so I finally saw Mr. Semino, and he says, oh, okay, let her in, you know. So I was told that they were going to give board members passes. So I just want to see who's going to be responsible for that, and if we can get passes for the board members.
Mr. Policio, would you take care of that? Absolutely. Thank you.
Secondly, I understand that if a student loses a pass, they have to pay $5 to get a pass to get back into the school building. Is that true?
ID?
An ID? An ID, not a pass?
Yeah, well, that's their pass, their ID. Is that right? Is it $5? 'Cause
I don't know if that's a
And
protocol
who-
that's in place or
I've-
not.
I've
Honestly, I
heard
wasn't
that,
the
yeah,
building principals.
I've heard that from 2 students that, you know, and then they were giving them hard times about getting back in the building, and security was not very nice.
Okay.
I believe that was at the high school. So who gets the $5 is what I want to know. Security takes the $5? So, so
I
is
will
this some
follow
type
up
of
on
scam?
what that process is and what the established
Check into
protocols
that.
are, and whether or not that's documented in the student
Yeah,
handbook
that's
that's
something
shared.
we need to check into.
Student ID loss. Okay.
So, you know, based on a lot of things going on in this city and the county and the country, I just wanted to talk about bullying. And I know the district has a DASA document that we use for what we call bullying. I guess that, you know. But I also just wanted to add something. I wanted to talk a little bit about bullying tonight. A bullying is generally accepted as a person who is habitually cruel or overbearing, especially to smaller or weaker people. Bullying is regarded as treatment in an overbearing or intimidating manner. These behaviors and people can manifest themselves in a number of ways. Threatening people with physical, financial, and social harm through means to be most prevalent way to manifest itself. I think over the course of our lives, we each have been impacted by bullying. It may be a friend that has been bullied, a co-worker, a colleague, or a superior who goes above and beyond normal supervision by bullying and intimidating others. In each case, we all have been responsible to stop and prevent these types of behavior. It is neither productive nor helpful to allow bullying to continue. This isn't just in the classroom or the schoolyard, but in our everyday lives. As human beings, we have seen people being mistreated, and we shouldn't allow that. We need to watch the evening news and see the increase of propaganda and bullying emanating from all corners of our nations and political spectrum to see the harm and division of bullying that's caused and unchecked. As educators and stewards of this school district, we have the responsibility to ensure that all in our care, our students, our staff, our trustees abide by a common sense rule of decorum and decency, that we can not only teach our children respect, but lead by example and demonstrate the appropriate way to interact with each other. As leaders in this community, it is imperative that we uphold these standards and values. Students and staff look to us for guidance and leadership. When trustees engage in behavior that is unbecoming of an elected official, regardless of motivation or reason, we look bad. We lose the moral high ground, and it compromises our ability to continue to lead and transform this Mount Vernon City School District. And to that end, I would like to see the district develop an anti-bullying policy that goes above and beyond the DACA Act. So I would like to see the district put some type of bullying pledge in a package that people can sign, so it's not accepted, and there could be rules for termination and not just a written thing in their file.
Very well. So that's something we should take to the policy committee to add another layer of accountability to the bullying policy, if I understand you correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
Has everyone been trained? I know. I've heard some people that say they haven't.
Well, it's required that every employee be trained. It is early in the year yet, so some of the training may not have happened if building principals have not had their staff meetings yet. But every year, the entire district is trained on DASA. And teachers are required to go through DASA training in order to get their teaching credentials, and administrators.
So is there something that they have to sign saying that they've taken the training?
They do. They have to sign a document indicating that they have completed the necessary DASA training.
Last year, Rebecca Turner, the social worker there, did an excellent presentation for Longfellow School.
You mean Rebecca Turner?
Rebecca, what did I say?
Longfellow.
Oh, Rebecca.
All right. So that's all I have for my report. What's next? Committee reports. We can start with Dr. Ning.
Good evening. On Wednesday, September 27 at 8 a.m., the Education Committee met, and Dr. Gail Wallace spoke about this year's literacy instructional foci, and made a program, an instructional program overview for 2017 and 18 for the different grades from pre-kindergarten, grades K through 2, grade 3 through 5, grade 6. And she also spoke about, she gave us documents about curriculum maps that were given to the parents on curriculum night, the night before, which was Tuesday the 26th, at Rebecca Turner Elementary School. And this year she described the curriculum nights as being very successful, in a sense that what they did, the difference between last year and this year, last year it was a one-day shot, for all grade from K through 12, but this year they had K through 8, elementary K through 8 at the elementary school, Rebecca Turner, and the high school was on the same day that night on Wednesday, right? It was
Last year.
Last year it was one night,
Right.
but this year it was two nights.
Two separate nights,
Two
exactly.
separate nights, exactly. One at the high schools. The differentiation was needed because you cannot fit everything that you want to do or you want to show to parents into just one night. And and there were many, according to her, many workshops that were well attended, and I think I did read that in the superintendent report also.
That is correct, yes.
Right. So she described the ELA curriculum, grade 3 through 5, and spoke about the superintendent reading challenge, whose goal this year is about 200,000 books.
That's correct.
Well, you know, up from 166,000 last year, so which is great improvement. And they instituted at every school, you know, something called drop everything and read time for 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes. Is it every day or is it once a week?
Actually, it's a national day
Right.
that we will start, and then we will implement it on once a week.
Once a week, okay. So, and spoke about the different support for, support for in literacy for all stakeholders, support for teachers, support for students, support for parents. And I did raise the issue about the support for teachers because, they're the most determinant factor in student success. Teachers' implementation of programs, there is the issue of fidelity of implementation. Do they really go and implement, what the districts, how the districts intend or, wants them to implement those programs? And what type of oversight, does she have in trying to achieve that? So we suggested that, teachers could, for instance, use videos, videotape themselves, analyze it, and present it, you can, to her or to a district team, rather than just having to go and do these rounds and having to visit all the school, which is fine, but you cannot be in one class, in more than one class at the same time. And how many of those can you could only take a sample, it's true, but still, I believe that it is successful, whatever they've been implementing, because there is a constant progress, a constant increase in ELA language arts results. Last year, for instance, 85% of the elementary and middle school increase in ELA proficiency level 3 and 4. And the focus and priority schools have increased also in ELA proficiency. Rebecca Turner Elementary School increased by 21%, which was the highest in Westchester, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That is correct.
Yes, which is terrific. And A.B. Davis increased by 10%. And overall, our schools are in good standing has increased as well. Parker Elementary increased by 10%, and Lincoln Elementary increased by 6%. So there has been a steady growth in ELA proficiency rate, over 16% since 2013-14 to now, this span of 4 years, which, if we continue doing this soon, I believe that we will get to the 50%, hopefully, of past proficiency. We also had the health and physical ed, new health and physical ed director present what he called the team approach. Together, everyone achieves more, team for health and physical education. And I think this is his first year.
Second year.
Second year. So he's met with most or all the phys ed schools and have, started the process of standardizing lesson planning, for, I didn't know there was lesson planning in physical education, but he did say yes. And in fact, that has led to, many also, keeping record of their physical ed lesson plans. And I suggested that because the model of the lesson plan is what we call the workshop model, which has a year, a mini lesson, 10 minutes, 15 minutes of mini lesson. This model has been, is very, I think, has been used in the, generally in most educational setting. And the mini lessons, I believe, is an opportunity to make or reinforce or an opportunity for behavioral modification of the children. Because if you know that children love phys ed, it's really a time where you could grab their attention. So we also have a CTE presentation on and CTE presentation. I think there is a full enrollment in the barbering lab, and what they're trying to do this year is look into literacy in CTE, because many times teachers complain that students can't read or need to increase their skills in reading, mathematics, and so on. So they are looking at how to merge the CTE and literacy. And we did ask questions about the STEM school, and Dr. Gorman, the STEM school, the plans for next year, because next year is really the beginning of the implementation of the 2020 visions in the school, academic at least.
Yes.
The Davis High School, the STEM school at Davis School. And on our next meeting, I believe we will have a presentation, and also we would like it to be presented to the public. I think that's it for my report.
Thank you, Dr. Name. Mr. Williams?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to report a couple of things to you guys. I attended our district curriculum night last week at Rebecca Turner. Our C&I department did a great job with putting together this event. We still have some issues with attendance, but we do have quality. So quantity is an issue, but quality, I think we're aligned correctly with that. There at the curriculum night, parents and community members were engaged, but not only engaged, they weren't empowered, which is exactly what we want. We went from just giving them the information to allowing them to give us the information, which is a good feeling as a parent in the district. We had meaningful discussion with the parents, teachers, families, and the instructors broke into small groups and held intimate curriculum workshops. So it was, like I said, I come on two fronts as a parent, as a board member, but what I do realize is that, this is relational based, so that our job and what we want to do in the district, it really has a lot to do with building these relationships, and it was really good that night from what our district had put together. This is a quality place. Mount Vernon is a quality place, quality educational system. We have a lot of areas that we can do a lot better, but we have, in my opinion, we have the leadership, we have the ingredients, we have the recipe. We just gotta maybe get the right temperature to move forward, and we are. So I'm really proud of that. One thing that we are focusing on, and we want to be conscious of when we do a lot of events, we want to ask ourselves two questions. We want to ask, and you'll hear this a lot throughout the years, is it linked to learning? And that breaks down into a very simple couple of questions that we just ask ourselves. Are parents informed about what students should know by the end of the year? So it's not a matter of kind of just giving them the information for next week's test. We want to kind of give them, help them, with that roadmap to navigate through the year successfully. And also, we want to know, does family members get tips about how to make it easier? Because, it's different dynamics, different cases, school to school, Williams to Pennington, different culture, different dynamics, and we want to kind of examine it school by school. We had a FACE committee meeting today, October 3rd, at 10:30, and the focus was just building the capacity for effective family-school partnerships. We are committed to, getting this piece done because we know it is essential. We are studying best practices. We understand, we totally understand all research points that parents have to be the agents of change. we are, everyone in this room is actually, you know, agents of change, but without the parents, it's a very slow, difficult process. So we want to do everything we can to figure out how to effectively engage the parents, and we're coming up with some innovative ideas, innovative initiatives that we'll be implementing pretty soon. I'll speak very short about one going on at Rebecca Turner. That'll be rolled out pretty soon. There's a program called Book in Hand. You guys will hear more about that in the next couple of weeks. But we have a lot of good initiatives that we want to roll out. We're excited about the parent liaisons that are now in the district, and we have a lot of ideas and you know, collaborations that we want to do with you guys in order to get healthier, to increase the communication. And then also we're going to bring everyone in. We have the MBK, Just Aspire, Reach, and we even had a representative from Gear Up at today's meeting talking about just engaging all stakeholders. We want to honor our families. Simple. You know, we know that some families cannot get out. You know, it's not that they don't want to make the extra push and make the extra steps. Sometimes they just, you know, for one reason or another, it's just not happening. So we want to, you know, take that in consideration and still honor our families for the time that they commit, and, you know, we'll be there to get help. And lastly, we want to try to figure out how we can help Puerto Rico. You know, we want to figure out in our next meeting is scheduled for October 24th, 8 a.m. And, you know, we just want to kind of put our minds down and figure out how our district can, you know, lend a hand. And I think that's a big part of the district, you know, our social responsibility. So that's what I have in our next FACE meeting. This is the FACE committee. FACE, in case you're not familiar with that, FACE is the Family and Community Engagement Committee. It was known for a while as the Parental Involvement, you know, but now it's Family Engagement. So FACE, that's what you'll hear a lot. FACE, FACE, FACE. That's Family and Community Engagement, and we know without the Family and Community Engagement, we will not be able to reach our goals. So we will work very hard to bridge the gap. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rose, do you have anything?
I'm not, I just go to meetings, I'm not a head of the committee, but I did want to make a comment. I have Trapp Hagen and homeschool that I was the trustee for, and today I was able to go and do a little site visit, you know, and just say hello to the principals. And I noticed that the children, at least 95% of the children are wearing their school uniforms, and they look fabulous. So I congratulate all the parents that are buying the uniforms and making sure that their children wear them. They look great, and the kids are happy to wear them.
Ms. Torres? Ms. White?
I'm on, good evening, everyone. I'm on Facilities Committee, and on, when we had the report about Friendship at our last board meeting, that there might be mold or something in the ceiling or on the ground floor, we went over there the very next day, checked out the facility, has been renovated, it's beautiful, there's no mold, there's nothing in the kitchen, and our children are happy. So we're having a good program at Friendship for Tots. We also went to Williams to look at the food situation and the building. We found the food wasn't true, that meeting. But we did find some things that had to be done right away, and we're really on top of that, getting Williams back. And if you go back by Williams School, the playground is completely done. It looks beautiful, it's leveled, and it's been paved. So Williams, we're working on Williams. We went to look at Columbus also to see their auditorium, because hopefully by next year we'll put a new auditorium into Columbus School for next year. I went to see Lincoln School, the gym floor, it's beautiful. The staff, the custodians, everyone's talking about it. It's a gorgeous floor. They love the L, what that says for Lincoln. They're just ecstatic. And it was 38 years, carpet on that one floor, and it was about time it had to be removed. I also sit on the construction and design committee along with trustee Zamora, trustee Jaros, and trustee McOwen, and we meet every Tuesday morning at 7:30 under the leadership of Mike Policio and Kevin Silva. So we're working, we're making our district look beautiful. Our kids, I agree with you, I did some site visits also today, and the kids, I think they're even more well-behaved and sitting in uniforms. So I give thanks to Dr. Hamilton for coming up with that initiative, that we can do it, and we're doing a wonderful job. So just be patient with us, because we are going to get this district back to where it was a while ago. So thank you.
The Wellness Committee did not meet tonight. We are still looking for an administrator to assist us. I think we are going to have Mr. Gregory, if Dr. Hamilton will ask him. And so as far as Special Education Committee, that meeting is on October 18th at 6 to 8 p.m. at Rebecca Turner Elementary School. I had the opportunity of speaking with some women from Westchester Institute for Human Development that assist us with our special education meeting, and they offered to have additional meetings for the Spanish-speaking community at either Columbus or Hamilton School. They just wanted us to give them some dates. So I have a community person reaching out to that community to get us some people to get engaged on that. So that's about it. That's all for committee reports. Acceptance of the minutes.
8:29.
8:29. All in favor?
Need a motion.
Motion.
Do I need a motion? I do.
I make a motion.
Second?
Trustee Saunders, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
Acceptance of minutes for August 18th, 2017. Motion?
Trustee Torres? Second.
Second.
Trustee Saunders? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thank you.
Motion to enter an executive session for the purposes of?
Purposes of the employment, discussing the employment history of a person or persons, a disciplinary matter? Contract negotiations and confidential legal advice from
Motion.
Trustee Saunders, second.
Second.
Trustee Torres, all those in favor? Opposed?
So,
Abstain? Motion carries. Welcome, Mr. Russo. Did you vote yes on that? Sorry? Did you vote yes on that? Were you saying, okay. Thank you.
okay, so we should be about an hour, so we'll be back about 9. Reconvene?
Trustee Torres,
Second.
Trustee Saunders, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. We're back in public session.
Okay. I'd like opportunity for any board members to remove resolutions from consent agenda.
I have one.
Which one is that?
1118 for discussion.
Authorization to pay creative direction, construction, and
Yes.
design is off the consent agenda.
11.18, 11.18?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What was the other one? Where's the other one?
Which one?
One I want. I can't see it, I don't see it. Where's Andre?
That was it? That's the one.
Oh, that was it?
Wanda. That's the one
Wanda?
you're talking about.
The designs?
Which one? Yeah, which one is it?
This one right here.
Oh, she did that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So, a motion to approve consent agenda?
Motion.
Second?
Trustee Russo, trustee Saunders. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries.
So there's a motion of pulling Resolution 1118 for discussion.
Yes, and I just lost it.
You just need a motion to put it on the floor, please, Madam President.
Motion to put it on the floor for discussion.
Motion.
Trustee White,
Second.
trustee Saunders.
I don't know, I just lost it. Let me try to find it.
It's still at the bottom of the business, so.
No, I lost the whole paper, the whole thing.
Can,
Uh,
sorry, go ahead.
I was, when I looked at this, I saw that we had a price of $233.32, 2,000, I'm sorry, on consulting or estimate on Grimes and Mandela. And I was wondering who authorized it, and when did we go into business with creative design contract? Oh, creative director or something. Why is your print so small?
Creative direction.
Because I can see it that way, that's why. I don't like re-scrolling all over.
On the backup, there is information submitted on the backup. There's a letter requesting payment submitted to Mr. Silver. Mr. Silver? Oh, Mr. Silver.
But have,
Do you want to talk about this, please?
Sure. I did not know anything about this until we received the invoice. I guess I got something from trustee Saunders as well, that you all, I believe, have the cover letter that this person says that he was hired by Mr. Zamor and the district's architect to do an estimate of Grimes and Mandela. So the first I knew that it had been done was when we received the invoice.
Yeah, Mr. Wallace asked me when he was going to get paid, and I asked him what he was talking about. He said that he had gotten a directive from President, at the time, President Zamor, to do an estimate on Mandela and Grimes. So I said the board hadn't approved anything, so I asked him to send it to Mr. Silver, so we could discuss it.
well, I'm just saying, did we use the estimate? Because, I mean,
I don't
every,
know the estimate, I didn't know of the estimate until we received the bill.
oh,
Did the
I mean,
board, as far as I recall, the board didn't
I
authorize.
know, right.
I have a question. Did the district architect have the authority to approve this without the board?
No.
Did the then President Zamor have the authority to approve this?
I can't speak to that.
I think we need to wait till.
Table it?
Yeah, table it, wait till trustee Zamor is here so that he can explain it, you know? We're just conjecturing what it was about.
What is it practice that the trustee authorizes work without getting approval from the board?
This is just hearsay, President.
No,
Well,
it's
there's
here,
a
it's a
letter
letter
with
here.
it that says what
It's a letter here,
Andre
dated,
Wallace says. There's
August
a letter
30th.
with it that said he was authorized by,
Then President Zamor.
I suggest we just table it and wait till trustee Zamor is here and he can explain it.
Well, I guess she would have to make a motion to table it.
That's true.
as,
I'm sorry,
I
Mr.
did-
Silver.
I was instructed to write to this person, and I did, asking if he had given us a proposal of any sort So I don't know how he was asked to do it, and he did not respond to my request for information.
On Tuesday morning, I sit with all these people, you do too, and not once have I heard this person's name come up as being allowed to or being asked to give an estimate on both projects. So I wasn't on there.
No, it was August 3rd.
No, he sent a letter on August 30th.
It
This
was
invoice-
done March.
This
in
invoice was
March.
done in March.
Yeah, I suggest that we table it until trustee Samora is here and he can explain whatever it is.
Listen,
Motion on the floor to table the resolution.
There are questions. I mean, I understand we need an answer from trustee Zamora,
More, right.
but we have a letter in front of us and we're asking questions about it. And I think we have one answer that the architect did not have the authority to approve this, and that it did have to go through the board, and it's apparent that a number of people on the board have never seen this before.
That would be correct. There's a motion to table it until next meeting. Somebody should second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Williams.
All in favor? Should we vote on it, or are we going to approve the?
We have a motion and a second to table it.
Okay, let's
Just table it
let's
to
table
next meeting.
Let's table it to the
I'd like
next
an
meeting.
explanation. I'd table it, because
Okay,
I
let's
think
table it.
that,
I think we need an explanation. I just wanted to know that if it was ever voted on by the board or by Ken Silva or Mike Policio to do this. So that's what my question was, but I am willing to table it until we get an
well,
explanation.
prior to tabling it, can we get some of these answers so that when we're coming back to it, we're at a farther point than we are now? Because it seems, I understand there's three of us who were not involved because we were not on the board, but it seems like there's a lot of confusion to those who were on the board at the time as regarding this. So can we explore if anyone approved this? Or at least if there's any knowledge of it among the administration?
First I heard of it was when we received this letter requesting payment. That was first I heard of it. So I'm unfamiliar. I don't know when or how this company was commissioned.
It says he was instructed to forward the bill here, but it doesn't say by whom. Like, it seems, it's very confusing. He's looking for his money, he's wanting to forward the bill here. He was instructed to forward the bill here. Who was instructing is
No,
pretty confusing.
Sorry, it says who he was told to forward the bill by.
I've been instructed to forward my bill to you for payment. It didn't say whom.
Back in March 1st, did you receive a bill?
Has anyone received a bill?
No.
Are you now?
We just received it.
And now I've been instructed to forward the bill to you for payment.
Okay,
Well, it's
so-
been tabled.
So we have a
till,
motion to table it, and we'll discuss it
We'll
at
discuss it at next meeting.
I also suggest having him present.
Yeah, he'll have to be.
Not
Trustee-
Trustee Zamora, City Councilman Wallace.
I don't know if you can.
We can't, I don't.
Can't make him come.
No.
Come.
No.
Okay, so the motion to table it, or?
Aye. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The motion is tabled.
Okay. So we finished all the resolutions?
Unfinished business.
Unfinished business? No? New business? Can't believe it. Motion to adjourn? Why? Need a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming.